hall has been an inspiration to the world by keeping the cultural jewel of New Orleans music alive since 1961, when Allan and Sandra Jaffe turned an art gallery into a music hall to ensure that we never lost New Orleans music. One thing to mention is there is 3 preservations. Preservation Hall, the building, which is a historic building built, I think, in 1800 or 1803. What an amazing building. And you have to go, if you're in New Orleans, you have to go to Preservation Hall. There's Preservation Hall Jazz Band, who is led by our guest tonight and has been playing for as long, 40 years, I think, of playing and touring around the country. And there's Preservation Hall Foundation, the 501c3, which does amazing community work. It's just amazing. Not only do they have an incredible education initiative that we're going to talk about tonight, but they help musicians in need, and they are actively giving away community engagement grants during this COVID time. So not only are they helping the musicians directly, but they're also helping institutions and community organizations to ensure the community stays together. We are Take Me to the River, an award-winning film, an award-winning record, an award-winning live act, but we lead with our education. Our mission is to make music more available and available to everyone. We're better students, all the studies show we're better students with music in our curriculum, and we're better community members. I'll leave you with the six C's, and we'll be off to the races with our esteemed guests. Remember, commit, to communicate, to cooperate, so we can all inclusively, together, collaborate. And when we do that, we create big, beautiful, lasting, meaningful things, and really the foundation of community. My guest tonight, Ben Jaffe, grew up in music. He's an esteemed and amazing musician, producer, songwriter, preservationist, philanthropist. There's many other words, but just an all-around great guy who has really been an inspiration to what we do at Take Me to the River and many other educational outreaches and preservationists of culture around the country and around the world. We also are joined by Greg Lucas, who has done an amazing job with this education initiative. We're going to get into his brand new offerings to teachers and to students. It's an online, very interactive, just an incredible job from a really generous donation from one of their donors. We're going to get into it. Please join me in welcoming Ben Jaffe and Greg Lucas. Hi, guys.
Hey, Martin. Thanks for having us on the show.
Oh, I'm so excited. Ben, if you're there, just click in. There he is. Hey, Ben, how you doing?
Oh, good, man. I'm still getting used to these Zoom things, you know?
You're doing fine, man. You're doing good. You're doing good. Well, we're going to get into the education a little bit. So, Greg, tell me a little bit about this latest, ambitious, 3 years in the making, amazing educational site that you are now birthing.
Well, we're really happy to now offer Preservation Hall Lessons, a website geared towards teachers and also educators who want to bring Preservation Hall practitioners and culture keepers into their classrooms through a wide variety of lesson plans that we offer. And each lesson plan is, a freestanding offering that includes videos, Google Slides, Google Sheets, all sorts of resources that teachers can use immediately in their classroom to bring Preservation Hall educators right there into many different topics, ranging from music instruments, from clarinet to trombone to drums to bass, all the way to history lessons and the genres of New Orleans songs, all there online for free, and with some really great wisdom from our 60 musician collective that play regularly at Pres Hall.
It's fantastic. I want to play the intro video so we can get into the world in a visual and musical way.
Music is a part of the human experience, and here at the Preservation Hall Foundation, we are immersing students in New Orleans music and culture. Our collection of lesson plans take K through 12 students on a musical journey of technical, physical, and personal growth. With an intergenerational approach, emergent and experienced practitioners will learn from the collective wisdom of master practitioners. Each lesson is rich with media, resources, student engagement, and a true New Orleans music experience. Launching a lesson is the first step to protect, preserve, and perpetuate New Orleans music and culture. This is just a starting point, with goals to expand our lesson collection, grow into units, highlight multi-sensory learning, and present professional learning webinars for educators. It's the music that pieces the learning together, but it's the experience that will take us further.
Well, that's a great introduction. Ben, I'm a teacher at the New School in New York, and part of what I teach is New Orleans music. And it's amazing how these technically proficient aficionados at their instruments, aren't in touch with the roots. So how do you get that message out effectively?
Oh man. Well, first of all, can I say
you're muted, Ben.
I told you it was my first Zoom. I should be on.
Click the little button on the left-hand side.
Am I on now?
Yeah.
Okay, who had their mute off?
It was me.
Okay, Professor. Well, this is
very good.
I was waiting to loosen you up a little bit. It's good to see you.
It's very good to see you. And I'll tell you, I was about 9 years old when I first saw Preservation Hall perform. My mother took me to see Preservation Hall play with your father, with Pops and everybody, the Kimballs or Narvin Kimball and the Humphreys, and and yes. I swear, man, it was an indelible mark on my life, without question. So your mission is personal to me because you guys have been doing it and you did it to me. So thank you.
I appreciate that, and thank you for sharing that story. Those are gentlemen who were like more than uncles to me. They were like fathers to my father. they were more like grandparents to me. You know, they meant not just something to myself and my family. Their music and their families' histories in the city touched, I mean, generations and generations, you know, even before me or you. And that's something I've always felt a personal responsibility. You know, in some ways the same way my parents did, to share this thing that had transformed in, you know, my parents' life, and you know, gives me blessings every day. You know, that's the beauty of music is that it's this never-ending source of love and blessings. You know, that's something I really do truly value at the end of the day, is and that's what I'm, you know, that's what brought my parents here. That's what keeps us here doing what we do. And as you can see, it's so much more than just playing music. It's one of the things I talked to Greg about early on was and you know this as a professor yourself, how do you teach beyond what's on the paper?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And it's so interesting because everything that I love about New Orleans music does not exist on paper anywhere. You know, it doesn't, some of it doesn't even exist on tape. You know, you can't even find it, you know, because you have to feel it. You know, you have to walk on the streets on Mardi Gras Day. Like, you have to know what that feels like. You have to know what it feels like to carry, you know, a bass drum for 4 hours and in a procession. You know, I mean, the things that New Orleans musicians do is it's like superhuman, you know, physically. And when you think about the reason they're out there, you know, the reason when my father, you know, was alive and playing with the Olympia Brass Band, they would play funerals. That's not just a gig. I mean, that is a sacred tradition, you know, that my father always had felt honored to take part in. You know, that was why he, you know, felt close to the community that embraced him, was they felt his reverence and respect, and for the tradition that wasn't his tradition, you know, a city that wasn't their city. My parents were from Pennsylvania originally. They came here in 1961. You can feel that love and vibration, you know. So that's something I've always remembered, that, you know, oh my gosh, this isn't a gig, you know, this isn't a job, this isn't a show. You're in a moment of great sadness and mourning at a funeral, and you're also there because what you do as a band, and for people who've experienced it and participated and seen it, there's a moment where the band starts playing, and it's as if the band is saying, it's okay. It's okay.
Right. Yeah, it's that live transition, you know, because a learning moment, everybody, is the processional, the dirge to the grave is very somber. And after the burial, we celebrate the life. And you can, to your point, Ben, I think you experience transition, right? It's spiritual transition.
Yeah, but in a way that words can't, you know, in a way that something visual can't, because it's something that's you're having it's more than muscular, because something is unleashing an emotion and a memory and a time and a place. And that's something I got to experience very early on. And through my life, I go, wow, where's that written down? Where do people talk about that thing in a textbook? Like, what college is teaching that? What school's teaching that? And I realized, wow, it doesn't have to be taught in New Orleans because people accept it. When I say people, I specifically mean the jazz community, the African American jazz community of New Orleans. The second line community of the city that is the 6th Ward and the 7th Ward and the 9th Ward and a little bit of Uptown. It's and now New Orleans East. I mean, that's New Orleans and that I know, and that's the information and the knowledge that I knew was important to capture and to share, because there are you don't go to Charlie Gabriel to learn how to play a C scale. He'll sit down and teach you how to do it, and he'll teach you like how to put the reed in and how to blow your lips. But from Charlie, you just want to sit next to him and absorb his vibration and figure out what is all that pixie dust that he does. Tell me about your experience. What is it that what is going to help me understand you better? And it's through that experience and knowledge and just the presence, and that's part of what we attempted to capture. And it's a different way of sharing tradition, because a lot of the things that we're sharing are oral traditions, or they're generational traditions that are transferred through a shared moment.
Yes.
Whether it's in church, or it's at a second line parade, or it's out at Jazz Fest, or it's down at Preservation Hall, or out on the streets, wherever it's taking place. When there's a younger musician standing next to an older musician, an elder, there's a transfer of information taking place, and it doesn't have to be on a chalkboard, and there's no grade next to it. That's where the real education is happening. Everything else is just information. This is the education.
Amen. I like it. It's also connecting to history, right? So teaching culture, to your point, it needs to be experienced. Culture needs to be experienced. And that flow of energy, this sense of community, right? So music at its finest is like the best glue to community. It just surrounds it and brings it together. We're going to get to another lesson that kind of delves into exactly what Ben's been talking about. But first, an exclusive clip from Take Me to the River talking about Preservation Hall. Stephen?
There was a time when even traditional music was scarce in New Orleans. But from the late 1950s to this very day, Preservation Hall has kept the jazz thriving.
Growing up, my father was a member of Harold Dejan's Olympia Brass Band. That's where I was always hanging. You're just immediately nudged into the deep end. You're sat down and you're told to just start playing. We didn't have babysitters. We had the Olympia Brass Band. That's how I learned music originally. When my parents came to New Orleans in '61, it was an incredible transitional time. They encountered a brass band, and they followed the band to the French Quarter, to an art gallery on St. Peter Street. And that's when they first walked through the doors of what would become Preservation Hall.
2.5 years ago, a group of us came to New Orleans. It was very difficult to hear New Orleans jazz in New Orleans a few years ago. So we rented an old art gallery, and began Preservation Hall.
Preservation Hall created a place where musicians could come and practice this art form that they had basically created that very well could have disappeared.
Preservation Hall, now that's where you'll find all the greats, and that's where all the people all over the world come in to New Orleans, first place they want to know where the Preservation Hall is.
They discovered a forgotten community of jazz pioneers. When I first played with the Preservation Hall Band at 22, Willie Humphrey and Percy Humphrey and Narvin Kimball were still performing with the band. The most important thing that Preservation Hall can do is make music available to people. When we collaborate with musicians, we're not looking for somebody who has like an affinity for New Orleans jazz or even understands New Orleans jazz. We're looking for people who share our soul.
I love the double piano.
Charlie Gabriel is one of our treasures. There have been 7 generations of Gabriels playing music in New Orleans. His family has had a direct impact on the musical history of this city.
I don't play the piano enough to know anything. I don't know nothing, you know?
Well, just because of, like, you know, time, we're gonna kind of get back into Tutti Maggia so we can rehearse it a few times with Alex and like make sure that we're all like on the same page and in the same key. And Charlie's gonna give us a cue when
1,
to.
2, 3, whap.
Y'all want to like work out a little arrangement?
Yeah, why don't we just we'll set up the groove and get into the song,
Yeah.
and then when it feels right, that's gonna be the top of the vocals.
Yeah.
All right. Have you just rock it on the piano real quick with me? Just one verse into the bridge.
One verse and then into the bridge?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Like 2, 3, 4. New Orleans is my favorite city in the world. That's actually part of the reason why I bought this studio. I just felt like this was the coolest neighborhood I'd ever been in, and if this corner went, I felt like that was a linchpin. This whole neighborhood would crumble.
Working with someone like Alex Eberts, I take away so much from watching another artist's process. Charlie Gabriel says musical conversation cancels out complication.
All right, I'm ready.
Oh man, that was a lot of fun, Ben.
Wow,
Greg,
that brought back some memories, man.
absolutely.
Wow.
Hey, Greg, can you run us through a couple of the lessons that really do sort of feature a way of immersing yourself into the New Orleans culture?
Sure. You want to share? Can I share my screen?
Steven, can we get that? Yeah, share your screen.
All right. I'm just going to do a quick, as soon as I get the share our screen, I think you might have to make me a co-host, and then I can share my screen. If not, then if you want to share your screen and go to the lessons.PresHallFoundation
Stephen, I
page.
think, I think Stephen's queued up.
There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Okay, great. So the middle school classes, if you go to grade level, those are two that are really great history classes at the top. Filter for, 6 to 8. These two lessons, New Orleans Genres and Origin and New Orleans, the Birthplace of Jazz, really delve into the context and the history and the breadth of New Orleans from a cultural perspective. Actually, why don't we drop into that New Orleans Genre and Origin, launch that lesson. And every lesson has its own custom videos as well as a custom Google slideshow. So if you scroll down, you're going to see in the materials a section that has a bunch of links, and there's one that says presentation, that first link. Why don't we open up that presentation? So these assets are available to anyone to, they can, if you hit present in the top right, you'll go full screen. But these are for teachers to remix and add however they see fit, and they can pull different slides in or out. And this one goes through 7 traditional New Orleans genres of music and includes incredible videos like this one. If you hit play, we could watch Sunpai Barnes sing blues in Creole, the language that many of the early musicians that were French immigrants from Haiti spoke in the French Quarter, and that the New Orleans kind of proto-jazz emerged from. But we could watch that video. You can watch it on your own after the broadcast. But this is a great lesson plan that really delves into all of the traditional genres of New Orleans music. The other lesson, if you go back to the lessons page, is if you hit back one more time, this New Orleans Birthplace of Jazz. This is a very thorough lesson. If you just scroll down, the viewers will see the degree of instruction and guidance that our teaching artist, Louis Ford, who is actually Charlie Gabriel's cousin, and a band director here in New Orleans.
Greg, this is really sticky. I went through this one. It's really great. And I think this is the one that what's great is you bring in other pieces of art and culture by having anyone can make something, and to make something on what you learned, and to learn what Congo Square meant to the world, what it meant to creating this amazing music that comes out of New Orleans, which is the first world music. It's a confluence of European marching band, West Africa meets Afro-Cuban, Cuban, Habanera to Haitian. New Orleans music is deep in world culture and world history. So bringing in other art was genius, I think.
Yes, we had a great team of educators, including consultants from the Kennedy Center and their digital learning department, which were invaluable resources, because especially with COVID, we felt an extra sense of responsibility to create something that teachers could use today, not wait until they're back in the classroom. And so each lesson plan is kind of a week's worth of instruction for a standard school class, and each lesson does link back to national arts standards as well as the Louisiana Common Core standards. So
yeah, you guys did a really good job in being able to do a plug and play kind of situation for teachers, so that they can just add it to their curriculum, and it can just be an enhancer, not necessarily a replacement, which is much easier road to travel. Believe me, because we have Common Core curriculum. We're in, almost 1,000 public schools across the country, and it's hard to get them to adopt the whole curriculum. So this is brilliant to be able to plug and play. Ben, I want you to tell us a little bit about some of the great work you all have been doing in the community. Single-handedly, Pres Hall has kept, I think, 60 musicians from falling into a COVID hard time, which is absolutely unbelievable. And we thank you, and we are humbled by this great effort. And also, you are giving these community engagement grants. Can you talk a little bit about both those things?
Sure. And I will. I will acknowledge that it has been a team effort. What we do. Greg Lucas is a tireless cheerleader and go-getter, and just
we love you, Greg.
Incredible energy, spirit, and the whole team at Preservation Hall during this time. They were and have been really inspirational to myself, and they're part of what gets me up and going in the morning. Even though we all of us who work and have some part, some responsibility for keeping the hall going, we also feel honored to be able to do what we do and to participate in such an important musical tradition. That's first and foremost. I mean, there was no question in my mind, as soon as we understood the magnitude of what was happening. I think it was a little bit of our optimism that kind of maybe led to disbelief that this is something that could actually happen. But when it did, is the moment we closed the doors at Preservation Hall is when it really, when that the lock on the front door locked and the lights went off, and there was no sense of when this was gonna reopen again. I had a moment where I had almost a flashback to like shortly after Katrina, when it was like a moment of where hopefully your best qualities come out at that moment, and you make decisions, and the decision I made at that moment was to shift all of our attention to the needs of the music community and the musicians, particularly these elder statesmen and these I call them the pillars and the backbone, the spine, the heart, the body, the bones, the DNA of this community. I mean, how do you really, how do you even explain a person like Wendell Brunius, who performs in many styles, in many venues all over the city in one day, and is regarded as one of the greatest trumpet practitioners ever? That's something I pray to I every day, that thank you for that. Thank you for that gift that you're sharing with us. So to be able to do this feels very much in line with what we've always done at Preservation Hall, which is to create to use our knowledge, our skills, to create a place where this incredible tradition can be celebrated and these musicians can be celebrated. So when COVID hit, and the immediate thought was, oh gosh, these musicians rely on Preservation Hall as a source of income, to feed themselves and their families. So to not be there. And for those who are familiar with New Orleans, it's truly one of the last cities on earth, if not the last, definitely the last in the United States, where you can be a working musician and go play 5-6 nights a week. You can go play out on Frenchman Street, and you can play a wedding gig, and then you can march in a band, and then you can go play a birthday party, and then you could end up playing over at, DBA, and maybe down at Preservation Hall or uptown at, the Maple Leaf or Tips. You just never know. That sometimes the number of times you want to work is just how many times you can physically be somewhere. There's that much work for a musician who's able to not just like physically do it, but to want to do it, and is able to play in all of those different styles, and that's remarkable to me. It really is, and that there's a community that is that welcoming. That's important, because all of those people are part of our ecosystem, and each one of those venues and each one of those events is part of this ecosystem that is New Orleans. And when all that is gone, it's not really, oh, let's just turn the dial and go do this other thing. Let's go find another way to do this other thing that I've been put on earth to do. So when that is gone, it's gone. And it's remarkable to see the impact on a place like New Orleans, where the population per capita, there's more musicians here per capita than anywhere in the country, working musicians. I mean, we're a city of under 400,000 people. So even though we act like New York and San Francisco, we're smaller than Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Well, to that point, I mean, just losing Jazz Fest for local musicians who play maybe 20 or the joke is always, how many gigs did you play during Jazz Fest, right? And that's a big part of the local musicians' income. So it's been very, very difficult. You guys have really come to the rescue of so many and have for a very long time. Please donate. At the end of the show, Greg will tell you all the particulars, but I wanted to play a little music. I love this record, the one that you produced with Jim James from My Morning Jacket. It's called That's It, and we're gonna play 2 cuts from it. I Think I Love You and Sugar Plum. Steven?
I love you. I really do. I think I love you, and you think that we are true. I never told you. You never asked. Now my forever is all in the past. Oh my love, oh my heart, oh my world that's turned apart. All these tears in my eyes are just because you said goodbye. I waited for hours for you to come by.
Listen to this all day. This is awesome, Ben. Really great stuff. I want to talk a little bit about the documentary and your experience of going to Cuba and play a little bit of tuba to Cuba music. I love it. You know, there's this natural connection of music from Cuba that had a very large influence on New Orleans music. And particularly the rhythms, the habanera, and the way that was influential in sort of steering New Orleans into a different musical direction. So Ben, tell us a little bit about the project. I know you collaborated with Danny and TJ on it, and it was a lifelong dream of your pops was to go over there and really kind of, you know, get into the roots of New Orleans music and deep rhythms and the culture. And so it's all yours.
Oh, wow. That's a lot right there. No.
Take a small beat.
I mean, I've never been a historian. I've just been really curious, you know, and when I hear something or you feel something, I want to know more about it. I want to know, wow, I see how it's making me feel. Gosh, where did it come from? What's its history? Who's that person? Who do they play with? What's their story? You know, I'm really curious and genuinely interested in people's stories, and the story of New Orleans is it's heavy, you know. It's a heavy story.
Yes, it is. Most people don't understand how the Haitian slave revolt dramatically changed New Orleans and dramatically changed Cuba with the influx of Haitians and that French culture. And a different spin on French culture.
Yeah, well, that's something that you know is still in the air here in New Orleans. I mean, you just walk. All you have to do is walk down the street and look at the architecture, and you can see the Spanish, Spanish presence. You can physically see the French presence. You can the names of the streets and the last names and the music that's played here is touched, is touched by those places. And the Spanish had Cuba, and the French over here have Santo Domingue or Haiti when it becomes Haiti. So you have this trade route going on, and it's not just physical goods. It's not just sugar cane and coffee and cotton and whatever else going back and forth. Those are just the things that ended up on the paper. The real important things that were happening is the information that the people were carrying with them, and the information in particular that was carried by the enslaved Africans that were stolen out of West Africa and brought and sold into the New World. That's where the real soul of everything we're talking about lives.
Yes, teaching moment. I always try and have a few of these. The Haitian slave revolt was the only successful slave revolt ever, where the actual slaves took over the government.
And this was this moment had a dramatic impact on New Orleans. That moment, the revolution, resulted in the population of New Orleans doubling in size as it received, I believe, almost 20,000 refugees from Haiti that came to New Orleans through Santiago, Cuba. That was the closest port, was Santiago. In fact, you could actually see on a clear day, I haven't told you, from Santiago, you can see Haiti across the water. And and then expelled from Santiago to New Orleans. When we traveled to Cuba and we went to Havana, you started to smell and feel something similar, and it's not just similar. It's beyond similar. It's familiar.
Interesting.
You're like, oh gosh, there's something familiar here. Like this feels. You're not thinking it consciously. You just have a sense of this. This is Havana. We traveled across the mountain range to Santiago. When we were in Havana, the musicians in Havana, they said, "Oh, you're from New Orleans. Oh, well, then you must go to Santiago." So we're in Havana, feeling close as we've ever felt, closer, a step closer to Africa. New Orleans, and now we're stepping closer, like taking a big step closer to Africa. And the musicians are telling us, oh, if you really want to experience Africa, you have to go to Santiago. So we go to Santiago, up over the mountain range. And when we get to Santiago, I tell people, the way that I describe Santiago to people is, if you took the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th wards of New Orleans, and that was the entire city of 4 million people, that is Santiago.
That's brilliant, Ben. That's brilliant. Yeah. I love it.
It was more New Orleans than New Orleans. I saw things there that someone who you would have to be from New Orleans and have like spent real time here, you see doorways, you see, you know, stairs shaped a certain way, you see the building architecture, the way it's spaced in the distance is New Orleans. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's right. Of course it is, because that's the people who built New Orleans came from right here. Of course it's exactly the same, you know. So yes, there's it's deeper than just words. It's an actual physical connection.
Let's see a little bit of it. Steven, can you play the video? Keep your head up.
What's that?
I could listen to that all night long. Ben,
Yeah.
really great work, man. And it looks so good. I mean, of course it would be with Danny, but it looks awesome. Really awesome. I mean, just I feel it because of how good the look and feel is. I feel it even more. Not that I wouldn't anyway, but I'm like sucked in. So wow. People can watch it. Where can they go and watch this, Ben?
Oh, they can they can go on Amazon, or, you know, most of the streaming services are carrying it now.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Readily available. I know you premiered at South by, right?
We did premiere there, and that was an amazing experience, because we're usually there for music, and this year, and we always come the week after film. This week we got to be there during the film. I should say, what was that, 2019 or whenever? Gosh, even before 2018. When
I think it was 2018.
What?
That was March 2018. 2 years ago. 3 years ago.
Wow. So to see to be there, to feel that energy was great. So it was an incredible experience. I mean, they captured you know, a once in a lifetime moment for us, for all of us going to Cuba for the first time. And you're talking about, you know, Charlie Gabriel, who's 88 years old. He's been everywhere, done everything, and yet the one place that he's always talked about going to is Cuba, the one place that he's never been able to go to. So this felt very triumphant for us. You know, it felt triumphant. You know, felt like we climbed a lot of mountains and dug under a bunch of walls, you know, and made it happen.
Pops was probably right there with you, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's an amazing experience, and what a way to sort of go full circle in a way, you know. Tell us a little bit about your recent song, Creole.
Well, that was inspired by our trip to Cuba as well. One of the, it was actually partly inspired by also a trip Greg and I took to Haiti with Wynn and Regine Butler from Arcade Fire, who do incredible work in Haiti, and they invited us to come down to see what they do firsthand and to participate. So Greg actually and I went as emissaries from the foundation, and that was a whole nother experience we'll have to talk about sometime. One of the things that came out of it is this idea of Creole. This word Creole exists in New Orleans, it exists in Cuba, it exists in Haiti, and it means the same thing and a different thing in all those different countries, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting. Let's watch it. Let's watch it. Great job. Gosh, I just want to go listen to that music all night long right now. By the way, Ben, you make great playlists. You made a couple really special ones that I still listen to, Spotify playlists. They were really great. I think if I remember right, I think I jotted them down, but Around Midnight and what was the other one?
Festing in Place.
Festing in Place. That's it. Yeah, great playlist. I recommend them for any cocktail party you might be having at home that you're not supposed to have. This has been an honor and such a pleasure and such a joy. It's a joy. It's a joy to get together with you, Ben. It's a joy to get together with you, Greg. It's a joy to collaborate with you guys, and just kind of walk down these same fields with you guys and trying to bring music as much as we can to everyone. Everyone should have this great music and educate them. We do have a couple of questions if you want to answer them, Ben. This one from Lulu: is there a story from Cuba that didn't make it into the film?
Oh my gosh. So the lady, we all stayed in different apartments with different families when we were there, and four or five of us stayed in this one lady's apartment on this one boulevard that leads down to the ocean. And from her apartment, you could see the ocean. And we would all have breakfast together in the morning at this table that had this beautiful view down to the ocean. And she told us this story, how that was where she was standing. I think we were there during the anniversary of Bay of Pigs. And she said from where she was standing, she could look out in the ocean, and she saw like the American ships arriving offshore, and she could see the whole city walking down to the water to go see what the hell was going on. And it was unbelievable that was also the moment that shut the borders down. So my dad and all of our parents are experiencing it on our shores, and she's telling me about actually being there, watching it unfold. So yeah, that was a really powerful story she shared with us. So yeah, that's just something, a personal, private moment that I'll never forget.
Well, again, Ben, your music is amazing. Your artistry is amazing. Your philanthropy and what you do to keep the music alive is nothing short of amazing. Pres Hall, the legacy that you continue on, these are all the things that we hold very near and dear and try and work on every day. What you guys practice, you and Greg, it's we need more of you guys out there. So thanks for fighting a good fight. You guys are winning. You're doing great stuff. And we're going to get out your education program as best we can. Everybody, Greg, how do they donate? Can you give them the specifics, and be slow so they can write it down, or actually better yet, just plug it into your computer now and just donate right this second. You don't need to even think about anything more. Greg?
Yeah, so I just put in our foundation website where you can learn more. You can access the lesson plans. You can see all our other programming that we're doing, as well as a donate button. We take all sorts of donations, and you can find out all of our handles and all of our social media accounts, because just a follow and a share is worth its weight in gold. We're just trying to spread this word to teachers all over the country about the free lessons website. And we look forward to staying in touch with everyone. Really appreciate you all tuning in. And Martin, thanks again for having us. We love Take Me to the River and all that you do from your end.
Thanks, Greg. It's been a real pleasure. Ben, man, thank you so much. Everybody, not only donate to Pres Hall, but also please buy the music, go see the film, buy merch. That's how you can support musicians, and any New Orleans musician. Buy their music, buy their merch, support them, look for their live streams. Ben he's got his hand in lots of stuff, so he's always connected to fun projects. So follow the band, check into the educational site, the foundation, the great work that Greg's doing. We love you guys. We are so, so proud of the work that you do. Keep on doing it. We'll see you soon. Hopefully right around Jazz Fest, we can do something together. We love you guys.
Love you too, man.
Thanks, Martin.
Peace. Be safe, everyone. See you next week.